Hi guys, and welcome back to the Stoop Tea. So my name is Rosa Enid.
And I'm your other co-host, Liz Santana. Welcome back, guys. I know it's been a little while.
I know we're
Yes.
busy people, as most of our listeners are too. I know everyone's busy. This is the busy season. It's like the holidays are upon us, so I feel like this is the time where people are the busiest out of the whole year.
Speaking of busy, work is increasing, which is hence why I haven't had a lot of time on my hands. But um we had touched the topic regarding raises and promotions and like better treatment at work. And I thought that it was a really good topic for us to talk about, just to have a conversation, number one, for myself, because I need advice, of course. And also because everybody else kind of like, I feel like everybody goes through it. And this is something that's like very rarely spoken about. And if it is, it's very intimately spoken about. It has like no um real like, how could I say this? Like no one, yeah, you don't really see a video about it. You don't really see like, unless you're searching for it, you don't really see people giving advice about it and stuff like that. And sometimes you actually really need advice.
I've heard this a lot of people not feeling like they're appreciated at work or not feeling like they're getting what they're worth. I think we're hearing a lot more of it now because of how expensive things are now. So I think it's really caught up with people and people really want to start making more money. People want to have raises. Inflation at an all-time high. And this is one of the reasons why people are thinking if things are so expensive and so high, why is my job not giving me a raise?
I've actually gone through this a few times in my life where I felt like I'm not being paid to my full potential, or I'm not being appreciated as a worker, or my work isn't being appreciated. And let me tell you, I know a lot of people that are going through this. It's like you said, like you mentioned, especially right now because of inflation. Like people are really feeling it. People are really wondering, like, why isn't my paycheck enough? Like a lot of people nowadays are living paycheck to paycheck. Although a lot of, for those that have been living paycheck to paycheck even before the pandemic, even before COVID-19 and
Like it's
inflation,
worse now for them. Yeah.
it's worse. Like
Hmm.
it's for them, it's just like they barely could afford life. And
Hmm.
then you have people that were like, okay, they were afloat and inflation hit, COVID hit, everything hit. Now they're the ones that are like, they're all demoted. Like they're the ones that are living paycheck to paycheck. You know what I'm saying? And so on and so forth. It moves up the mountain. But like for the most part, I could tell you that I've experienced it myself, and the anxiety and the nervousness that you feel is literally like overwhelming. Why people get anxious and why I've gotten anxious in the past, I can only tell you from experience, from my experiences, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's because people fear like the rejection, the no, or we can't right now, or oh, you want to get paid, or I can find someone else that'll take less pay than you and get rid of you. You know what I mean? So I feel
Yeah.
like the biggest people's number one fear is getting fired, either getting fired, getting turned away or rejected, or suffering retaliation afterwards.
Yeah. I think that people are have fears and anxieties, but it's all within themselves. It has a lot to do with like self-esteem or how you feel about yourself.
Really?
I
I don't
think
think
it
that.
does. I know that the fear of, yeah, getting fired, that's going to come up, but you also have to think of your self-worth and what your value is.
You're more of like a freelancer, right? So
Hmm.
you're like a self-employed kind of thing. Although you get employed by companies or like production companies or whatever,
Yeah.
but you literally like you sign contracts. They have to agree to your terms. You have to agree to theirs, right?
Yeah.
So
And
you're a
I'm
freelancer.
signed. Yeah. Whenever I do a show, it's like, this is the rate for the duration of the show, whether it's
You
2
decide
months,
you want
three
to take
months,
that,
or a year. Exactly.
or have there been times where you negotiate those rates,
Yeah.
or you have the open window to negotiate those rates?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, so that's awesome though, because
Hmm.
I mean, and I say why do I say that's awesome? Because obviously when taking a job or being at a job interview is like taking a contract, right? Just for you, it's like taking a contract.
Yeah.
You either accept what they offer or you negotiate the rate.
Hmm.
The thing is that I feel like a lot of people, specifically like in office jobs, and like regular 9 to 5s, Not that yours is a 9 to 5, but I'm just saying like on
No,
a
I know.
more common ones, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
more,
more traditional
more
job and
right, more
offices and
traditional work
Mhm.
environments. People when they go to interviews, number one, of course, you're not going to accept an offer that you don't that doesn't work for you. But I also feel like people limit themselves or kind of like dumb themselves down or don't ask the maximum of what they're actually worth because they're in fear of not getting the position or they're in fear of like not, and that has to do with what you said, which is self-appreciation, and
and
that has to do with,
self-worth. Yeah.
but then you have instances where you have people that have been in jobs for 5, 6, 10, 20 years. Well, let's just say five, not even 20 years, right? Maybe like five,
Yeah.
6 years. And they, they're getting all this work, of course, right? They work in they've gotten used to this work environment. They have their flow. They have taken on more work throughout the time, throughout the years from what they originally initially came in with. And yeah, they get raises here and there, but it's not what they feel like they deserve.
Yeah.
I've had experiences where I personally, like, I'm that person, right? So I'm like, oh, it's been a few months or a few years. I think it's time to ask for a raise because I feel like I deserve more.
Mhm.
And I've literally had instances or occasions where I've gone to my superior or my boss, and literally it's like they say every single time that you've been late, ask them to come in late or leave early, or you've gone through something and you've just needed to, like, I don't know, be absent or whatever. They kind of like save that in their back pocket, like for like when you ask for that raise to remind you, well, you've been late 16 times out of the year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Well, that's why
I
you should like and we can get into this more later, but that's why you should also, how you said that your boss has that list of these are the reasons why I don't think you deserve the raise. You need to have your own list of these are the reasons why I do deserve the raise and list all the additional responsibilities or anything that's been added to your plate that wasn't part of the job description before.
Right, right, right. Well, of course, like you said, we'll get into that later, but hold
Yeah.
on. Hang on to that thought because I have more. I have more. So I've been I gotta laugh because this is crazy. And it's just like that's what I've heard of people's stories. So I'll give you another story, not my personal story, but I've heard like of stories of other people where they completely they've asked for raises and they go in comparing themselves to their counterpart. Like, for example, I feel like so in my office, for example, I'm an accountant, right? And I'm an accounts receivable, and my counterpart is my partner, which is accounts payable, right? So
Mhm.
usually you'll have bigger, in most companies you have bigger accounting departments, but in my company we have a small accounting department. It's just 2 to 3 of us. Some people have the train of thought like, well, how can I list, or who can I use to compare myself to list specifically what you were saying, like why I deserve a raise. A lot of mistakes people make are that they go in there, not they go into their boss's office asking for a raise or a promotion, kind of like comparing themselves to the next person or to their counterpart.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's frowned upon. Like that's why it's looked down upon.
It
Because
depends. I think, do you do the same job? Do you do the same
so we
exact
do for the
things?
most part the same job, right? But I feel like, so let me say for example, okay, so there's two parts, right? There's me and there's my counterpart.
Hmm.
Um I receive the money, he pays out the money. Um
So is he like
and
he's like technically above
he's
you?
my opposite.
Okay, so you do the same, I mean, you don't
We
do
do
the
the
same
same
job.
exact we do the same job, except he pays money out and I receive the money. So he works on everything that has to do with paying bills,
Hmm.
paying expenses, paying this,
So
paying that.
that's different. It's not the same exact job.
Well, it is. I call him my counterpart because we work hand in hand, literally, for everything.
Hmm.
I need him for a lot my stuff. He needs me for his stuff, and we work hand in hand, and that's why I call him my counterpart. And in accounting, it's like that. you need accounts receivable and accounts payable need to work hand in hand, and they are always like,
Yeah.
because he's my negative, I'm the positive to his negative, literally, like no joke.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, so he's a person that I could use to compare to. We both reconcile, we both do all kinds of, anyway, we do a lot of accounting functions, right? So we do a lot of accounting functions, very, very similar, except in the opposite directions. Now, if I were to go to my boss, or if I were to think about going to my boss, and I'd like to compare, or I want to list things like as to, reasons why I feel like I should get a raise. What I've seen a lot of people do, I've never done it myself. I actually don't think that that's the right way to go, but I'll get into that later. I've seen people say, like, sit there and be like, or I've heard stories, excuse me, of people saying, well, such and such came in later, and such was hired after me, and such does this less than I do, and I feel like I deserve more than that such and such person because I do more work.
I don't agree with that. That's playing the victim card and like the angry employee. So I don't, that's definitely the wrong way to go about it. That's not how you should ask. If I had a person coming at me saying all that thing of that's why they want to raise, I'm like, I don't even want to deal with you. Like,
Right, right. So like, so that's what I was trying to get at. So right, as soon as I said that, you're like, oh wait, hold on. Oh, why are you coming at me like that? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Or like, you should never highlight anyone's um
it's not
flaws.
about anybody else. It's about you. You're the one that
Right,
wants to
exactly.
raise.
So I've actually seen people do this. This is very real. People do this all the time. And that's why I feel like a lot of the times it's frowned upon, because 90% of the time, actually, I mean, 70% of the time, this is what is expected of the employee, right? They're going to
Yeah.
sit there and they're going to highlight someone else's cons instead of to highlight their pros, or they'll use that person's con to highlight their pros.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to work for this realty office, and the boss was and owner to some of the buildings or whatever. And I used to receive the rent checks, and I used to post it to people's profiles and stuff. And I did my job. And after a few months, I felt like, well, after a few months, her and I were conversing, and she comes out, she's like, if you ever feel like, you deserve a raise or whatever, I'm here. You can always come talk to me, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't really catch on, or it didn't really hit me what she was saying until I went home that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh crap, maybe she's saying it because she thinks I deserve a raise. But then again, why would she say it, and why wouldn't she just give me a raise?
Yeah.
So I go back a day or two later, and I mentioned, I'm like, oh, such and such, you had mentioned to me if I felt like I deserved a raise, I should bring it to your attention. And I just wanted to highlight that it's been a few months, and I've learned this, I learned that, and I've taken on a lot of other stuff that I felt like, it merits a raise.
Mm-hmm.
And her response was, well, you just started 6 months ago, and I don't think you deserve a raise. You've been late 2 times. Um, you've been absent. You've been absent 3, and I know that I gave you 5. What was it that she said? She's like, I know that I gave you 10 sick days, but that doesn't mean that you should be using them as often as you are. And on top of that, I feel like you're not. I really don't believe that you deserve that raise, because I feel like you should be doing more.
Did you ask at the wrong time? There's a thing about asking for a raise and knowing the right time to ask for it. Like there's a time
Right.
and a place for it. And that situation, because she had already kind of initiated the conversation of, hey, you should ask whenever you want. I'm an open table. And it seemed like the person that responded to you saying, I don't think you deserve the raise is not the same person you were talking about before.
Right, exactly. But it was, believe it or not, guys,
Yeah.
it was the same person. But then, like, when I came back 2 days later, she wasn't the same person.
Now,
Well,
did you ask for a certain amount or did you just ask?
no, no, I
Oh,
just
okay.
for raise. I didn't
Okay.
specify. I was just like, oh, you had mentioned this before, and that was my approach. Like, you had mentioned this before, and I felt like I deserve, because I've taken on more than what was expected of me. Blah 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 blah
Is
blah.
that why you have like anxiety about asking for raises and stuff now? Did it scar
Well,
you?
well, that of course, that adds on to my anxiety. But also I get anxiety asking for a raise because I always worry, like, are they going to, because I'm asking for a raise, do they think it's okay, or do they think it's like it merits them throwing more work at me? Because if that's the case, then I should, like, okay, so let me rewind because my head is a mess right now.
I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say
You know what
like
I'm
if
saying?
I ask for this raise, is that going to detail that I have additional workload?
Right?
Like I'm
Or
inviting more workload to come in.
right, exactly.
But that's part of like a negotiation once you do the talk about getting a raise. That's when that should come up. And you
Right.
start negotiating about, okay, would there be any
Wait,
additional
wait. But I want you to save that for when we get to what
Okay, we'll
things that we
save
can,
it.
because all the stuff you're coming at me with is all the stuff that I want you to say, but I want you to save it for the end because I need you to like doom doom doom
Yeah.
doom doom. So the thing is, if I'm asking for a raise, right? And I don't feel like a lot of people look at it this way, but it should be looked at this way. If I'm asking you for a raise, it's not because I'm asking for you to throw more work at me, because obviously it's a lot that I'm handling right now, right? And that, which is why I feel like I need a raise. I deserve it. If I'm asking for a raise, the raise is for the work that I already do, right? The
So if you give me more stuff, I need more money.
right? Like that doesn't mean throw more stuff at me. No,
Or you
that
need to
means
hire more people.
like that just means I need you to pay me for what I'm already doing at a good rate, not throw more stuff simply because you gave me $1 increase an hour. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't.
I do
Like
know that there's a lot of fear and anxiety that can go into asking for a raise.
oh,
Like I
oh,
remember I remember the one time where I realized that I wasn't getting paid what I was worth.
right.
It was a few years ago and I had started coordinating. I think my issue was that I wasn't educated on what the salary ranges were for that position that I was doing.
Okay.
So because of that, I was new into coordinating. Like I had just come off being a production assistant and was new into coordinating. So I didn't really know what the salary ranges were. Like I had heard stuff, but people don't really blatantly say, this is how much I make. I think now in my industry, it's more common for people to talk to each other about how much they make.
Right.
But back then it wasn't. So I was in this position where me and this girl had the same exact job.
Right.
Um, and I felt like I was doing more, a little bit more, like because I'm an overachiever and I'm crazy. I would stay later, I would come earlier, I would I'm working. So I
Yeah,
go
I'm so
above I
sorry.
do go above and beyond. And there was a point where something was going on uh with time cards and stuff. So I took on that task. Like, oh, I'll help because I always want to make sure everyone gets paid and stuff. And somehow that's when I saw everybody's salaries, and I saw that that person, the same job that I did, she was making more than me. And
But like a lot more. What is a significant amount more, or like was it
well, yeah, it was a big chunk of more. And when I had negotiated my rate for that job, I was told like this is all I have. This is all I can give you. So I was like, okay, like I'll take it because I didn't have that knowledge of what the job actually paid, especially because I was working in a different city as
right?
well. So
Right.
um I was really upset for like I was upset for like a whole day, and I talked to my
Right.
friends that I worked with. Um And, and I was even mad at the girl for like a day. I was like
Yeah. Yeah.
not
You tend
nice
to
to
get
that girl. Like resentment, and it's not even her fault because she probably's like doesn't even know. That's what she
right.
always
Right.
made doing that
Right.
position, and I was new at it. So, what I did was I always had to sit with my boss so that she can approve the actual times and what she's actually paying people. So
Right.
I made sure that I put mine and that girl's time cards right next to each
Next to
other.
each other.
So like her,
Nice.
so
Nice.
so
Strategic. I'm
yeah,
writing this
so
down.
I will never forget like when she was
Strategy.
it was busy and we were doing it was in the middle of the show, but we have a certain deadline, so she had to do it then and there.
Right.
And that's when when she saw mine and her time card together, it's like click, like light bulb, like, oh shit. Like she was like, oh, that's all I'm paying you. And I'm like, that's what you told
Yeah.
me.
The fuck?
And from there I learned like so then she fixed it, she made it fair.
Did
Like
she at least retroactively compensate you or
yeah.
no?
Yeah,
Nice.
she made it fair. She worked out a deal where it was fair. And I got what I was should have gotten for the show.
Nice.
So, but I will say that was a very lucky thing, and the fact that I actually went to talk to her about it, because when she said that, I was
Right.
like, "Well, yeah, I've been wanting to talk to you about that."
Well,
Actually.
I don't feel like you need to
Um,
talk to her about it. I felt like
oh,
you just threw it
she
out there
knew.
like,
Well, you know what happened? I found out later, my friend, which is kind of embarrassing, my close friend,
uh-huh.
worked directly with her, and my friend told her I was upset about that. So
Oh,
she already knew that
got it.
I was
Okay.
coming into it
Well, that was wrong
upset
of your
about it.
friend.
That
That was
was I was a little ashamed, but she said, "No, it's not fair." Like, my friends are, that
well, I mean, thank you, friends. Thank you, right? Because
yeah, but
it
also
came
I
from
could
a
have
good place. It did. It did. We gotta give her credit because we do.
Yeah. I
But
gotta give her credit, but also it's like it wasn't her battle, it was my
right,
battle
friend, don't
to
you can't fight
face.
your friend's battles, friend.
Exactly. But thankfully, she was looking out for me, so I
Good, good,
can't,
good. Look out.
but yeah, so I think the problem there was I didn't have that knowledge. I didn't know what the actual ranges were.
Right.
So I think it's very important for people to do their research and actually see
Like
what
prepare.
prepare, do your research, see what that position actually makes and what
Right.
and not just like everywhere in the world, but for the specific state and city that you're in, because prices and ranges and salaries are different depending on your city and state.
And be
Yeah,
realistic also. Like be don't only just prepare and educate yourself, but be realistic. Like if you're going in there with median experience, expect median salary. You know what I'm saying? If you're going in
exactly.
with beginning experience, expect beginning salary. Like, and if you're going there with a lot of experience, then you can then you have some room to play. But don't go in there expecting the highest when in all reality you don't have all that experience. Like you also have to understand that employers are gonna what you bring to the table is what employers are prepared to offer. And sometimes most of the time we already know employers are always willing to offer less than what they can actually pay. Why? Because they want to see if they can get a bargain. It's just it's business.
They have a budget they have to uphold to,
Right,
so they
right,
have to try to stay within that. So it's up to you to do your research and your knowledge and know what you're worth,
right,
because you kind of have to. Unfortunately, no matter how great of a boss you have to know that information so that you're not taken advantage
right,
of, or you don't, or you feel like you're getting what you deserve.
right, right,
And again, and it's true what you said, like when I transitioned from coordinator to production manager, I already knew the price ranges of what the PMs made, and I already knew like I was new in PM, so I literally worked my way up to the salary I have
right,
now, because
right,
you're not going to just be a fresh PM
right.
and ask for what a senior PM makes. And I know some people do and they try to do that, but I felt at the time I'm like, I don't have full PM experience. Like
Right.
I was nervous about would I be able to deliver? Would I be able to do a good job? So in those instances, that's why I took, the lower, the starting position rate
The
and worked
starting
my
rate
way
because
up.
it's okay, you're a beginner. Like if
Yeah.
ranges go between like 80,000 and 100,000 and you're a beginner, don't expect to get a 100,000 off the bat being a
Mhm.
beginner at what you do.
Yeah.
You just can't. That's not
Yeah, you
fair.
have to
No,
work your way up. And
right, right.
and it's really important for you guys to know, be knowledgeable and don't try to like shoot your shot and over ask, because
Price what you do. Right.
I've even had people when when I'm hiring people that for a coordinator position want my salary and tell me like, "Oh, this is my rate." And in my head I'm like, "You obviously don't work in the industry because that's not what
Right.
we pay for that position." Like
Right.
there's no way. So
Well,
and
those are
and that's a red
did not
flag to me because 'cause I'm
prepare.
like that's a red flag to me because 'cause I'm like, obviously, you're like a beginner or something and you
Right.
think
Or you're
that's what I
asking for
could pay
way too
you.
much money.
Yeah. Um, So, it's just all about having that knowledge, having that education and learning and really knowing what you're getting into and
Right,
what's
right,
fair. And there's jobs where I've lowered my rate or have like they'll tell me like, "Oh, that's your rate. That's really high. This is literally all I have." And that's when you start asking questions. Well, what are my responsibilities and what do I have to do? Because then
right,
from
right,
there, I'll negotiate like, okay, if I don't have to be, if I'm away from home traveling, I want my higher rate. If I'm
right,
not, then we can negotiate and there could be wiggle room because I'm not doing as much, or like what exactly are the responsibilities? And you have to make that very clear at the
right,
beginning
right.
because once more stuff gets added on,
Or once you accept what they're offering,
that's
that's
it.
it.
Yeah.
Is
And you're not
right,
gonna ask for more money if you're doing the same exact thing that you were hired to do, you
right,
know?
right, right.
But if more responsibility is added on to you and they keep asking you for
Then
more to go above and beyond even more, then that's when you really have to consider, you know, asking for that raise.
if it's been some time, you've learned your stuff, you became an expert at what you do, and you have a lot of stuff that you didn't have when you initially initially began.
Let's say that you did extra certificates or you finished a class or you finished a training while you
Right,
were in that job, that's something that you can add to that list of this is why I should get paid more.
right, right. And last but not least, my favorite that Rosa said and did was strategically planning when you're gonna
The
make that
time.
move.
When is that you're gonna have
Even
that conversation?
if even if it means you gotta put that person's time card together with yours. You wait for the
I
perfect
mean I mean, don't you don't have to do all that, but I honestly like and I'm surprised because I had a lot of anxiety going into that
you
meeting.
see?
As upset as I was, it's nerve-wracking to go to
Yeah,
your boss and be like, "I want more money, like, I
right,
deserve more money." So I get what that feels like. I didn't feel like I wasn't appreciated. I just felt like I'm a fool because I should have known better. That's
right,
how I felt. 'Cause there's a lot
right,
of people that love playing the victim card. They
right,
love
right,
feeling like the
right.
world is against them and
Exactly.
everything's against them, and that's not first of all, that's not the right mindset to go into it asking for a raise in the first place. Like, you need to sit
Right,
down, reflect on your life, reflect on yourself, reflect on what you've been doing at work, and honestly, be honest with yourself. Do you really deserve that raise? Do you really go
right,
above and beyond the other employees? Do you
right, right.
really are you really a valuable asset to the team or do you just want to work, get a paycheck and go home? When you do realize like, yes, I'm ready to ask for that raise, I deserve it. I honestly think because the type of person that I am and because I know that I can sometimes I'm better at it now, but I I can get nervous or have anxiety over having a certain conversation when I don't like confrontation, first of all. So I think that when you ask for a raise, a lot of times you're thinking, oh, what if there's a confrontation going back and
Right,
forth regarding
right,
that?
right, right,
So I always think it's best to put everything in an email. Like if you're going to ask for the raise, put it in an email because first of all, you have time to compose it where you could write it
or
and then go back
you
and read it,
yeah,
proofread it,
right,
make sure that it sounds not angry, that you don't sound like an angry employee, make sure that it's really
right.
um
You.
the highlighting you and highlighting what your additional responsibilities have been and why you feel you need the raise. If you had any additional skills or certifications that you got while you've been employed, put those in that letter, put everything in there that's gonna make you and make sure you include that you're appreciative of the job, of course. Don't just
Right,
sound like an angry person.
right,
Um, and put it up like you would like to have a conversation to negotiate your rate, not love I deserve not saying like I deserve a raise, give me a raise.
right.
But write it all in an email. You can even have like your best friend, your spouse, your mom, somebody read it and tell you like, give you feedback or notes on it.
You know what? Don't tell your spouse, don't tell your mom to read it because usually 90% of the time they are gonna be just as angry as you are, and they'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, send."
Really? I don't know. I
I
guess
feel
if
like
I think if they're in the emotion with you, but I think I don't know, with my partner, like, I think him and I think he's the only person I can actually have read something and he'll make it better, and vice versa with him. He'll always, before he sends, like, a crucial email, he'll ask me to look at it.
Right, right, right.
Like, the other day I had, sorry, off topic, but the other
No,
day we had someone that, they've been at the company forever and they were gonna leave the company. They got them a gift. She sent me a thank you letter, right? And I
right.
wrote my email, but I couldn't express,
Your
I wasn't,
gratitude.
I was just business, like, the way I wrote it was all business, and I was like,
Right.
"I don't know how to say."
How to make
So
it a little personal.
exactly, I was trying to make it personable, and sometimes I can't when it comes to work stuff, like, I can't make it personable. I feel like it's all business, especially in
Which is
emails.
awesome.
Yeah,
You
but
know
so
that
I had to, but
makes business
my
pleasure.
boy yeah, what?
I say, that's awesome. Like the fact that your mind completely like blocks that personal level out. I mean,
Yeah,
awesome, and now it's a double-edged sword, if you
yeah.
ask. But that's really good though. I mean, because a lot of people, you know how many people mix business with pleasure all the freaking time
I
because they
don't
just
like doing that, and I have
me
friends,
neither.
yeah, and I have
I
friends
know
who I
it's
work
a
with.
saying or like a bit really bad way to put it, but it's the truth. Don't shit where you eat. My mom always said that. Don't
Yeah.
shit where you eat. Yeah, I know
But
what you.
but my boyfriend's really good at that. So he's the opposite, where when his emails, he tries to be more of the personal person.
Or he's
And
more personal, you're more business.
yeah,
So
so
you
we
guys
complemented each other when it comes to the email.
right,
Like,
great.
he said
Aw.
exactly what I wanted to say. He's like, "Oh, you should put this instead." And it
Except
was
he knew how to
exactly,
express it.
yes, he knew how to express it in a way
Okay,
that it was friendly, but it was still
that's
business.
awesome. That's
So
awesome.
that's why
Friendly
I
but
think, yeah,
basically.
I guess it depends, because make sure that your spouse or your mom's not gonna be angry before.
No, my mom would be angry, and so will my spouse. So I really can't ask them to, I
Yeah.
just
Well,
have to
send
keep
it to
rereading.
me. Send it to me.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Me
I'll
and
send
Tina
it to
will
you.
read it for you.
You're like, yeah, yeah. Ask for that right, coño. You're just like,
No, but you
I'm
have to know,
ready.
okay, that's the thing too. You have to really know how to separate that, because you don't want to go into it angry. And I think that's why it's better to write it down. And also, it helps with your employee, because you're not putting them in the spot. Like, you're not asking for a raise out of nowhere. When you send them that email, they have time to read it, they have time to decompress, they have time to, they could be mad when they read it, and then they have time to reflect on it before writing you back or giving you an answer. And so I think the email is a better approach, um to asking a raise, and they might take a few days to get back to you because they're really thinking about it, or you know
You have older people, older bosses, or like, more old fashioned people that prefer in person rather than email. Although I agree with you, I would write it in an email. But if you do have like some people, I have old fashioned bosses, they rather person to person. And to be honest with you, like coming from my perspective, I would rather person to person, but I would take your advice. First, write an email, make sure that
I
I'm
think,
voicing.
yeah, and I think you should, even if you talk in person after, I think you should still write the email, because you'll have
No, no,
something in
yeah, that's what I'm
writing.
saying. That's what
No,
I'm saying.
yeah,
Write the
but
email.
it'll, but for
I
example,
give it.
let's say they say no today. I'm sorry, I can't give you a raise, whatever. Maybe you stay at the job, you didn't find anything else, you stay at the job. A year later, you could be like, "Hey, I know back in on March 2022, I had asked for a raise. I wanted to
Right.
circle back on that because as of this
And
year, I've been doing additional stuff, ABC, etc." And you'll have a track record of when you've asked for a raise,
right,
and even if you decide to move on to another company, they'll have that receipt of, when you're writing your resignation letter, you can also say, as stated on March 2022, I had asked for a raise. I understand that the company can't give me that, which is why I have taken the decision to move on and I'm putting my 2 weeks notice, etc.
right, right. No,
So
no, no, right. I agree 100%. 100% wholeheartedly. Even if you write the email, I still think that you could approach them in person.
yeah, but at least
Um,
have the email to kind of know where you
reference
stand and
back
what you're
to
going to say. Exactly.
right. And it's also helpful, like even when me and Rosa, I don't know, for me, even when we're doing episodes and like we want to stay on topic or like because sometimes we can divert to a lot of different things. Hey, we're talking with you guys, we're talking with each other, it's
Mhm.
it's really easy to just get distracted and
Get
and
off track.
get off track, right? Just like we did a couple times now. But it's very helpful, right? When you have 4 bullet points that you want to keep, you want to, they remind you of what you're trying to mention, why you went that route, and it helps you come kind of like full circle, like we did today.
So if you do write that letter and you're looking for a raise and you have no one to read it, you can always send it to us because
Yeah,
I love proofreading other people's email stuff. So
exactly.
send it to
Exactly.
us. And we'll help you out. You can send the email at askus@stooptea.com. That's ask@stooptea.com. And you can
Yes.
also send us messages on Instagram, TikTok. And yeah.
Yes.
I felt like we
And
had another platform and
but I think we have, you know what? Don't even get me started. Rosa's the platform guru. I can't tell if she knows. She's also the spelling guru because I definitely cannot. I mean, I can spell it if I have it on paper, but off the top of my head, hell no. I'd have to write it out first. But thank you guys always for listening. Thank you for being our biggest supporters. We really appreciate you. We have a good night. We hope you have a good night or a good day.
yeah, yeah.
Or good morning, right? And like Rosa said, just reach out if you need some advice. We'd really appreciate you reaching out and just letting us know how we can help.
Happy November 1st, everybody. Let's start looking
Right.
forward to Thanksgiving.
Christmas decorations coming soon.
All right. Have a good day. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.